Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and once again, I'm here along the gravel road that leads to the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail in Hamilton County, Tennessee. And today I've brought something different. I've been using my Z8 and the 600 PF a lot lately, but today I have the Canon R6 Mark II, and I have their 800 F11, a lens that stores small and shoots big, and it's light as a feather, and it's pretty darn sharp. I think it's sharper, in my opinion, than their 200 to 800, which is a lens I got rid of, but I kept this lens. And the first place I stopped was right here, and in these little trees, there was a summer tanager, a male summer tanager. So I got a few shots of it, and let's take a look at them, and I'll keep on working with this gear that I used a lot, maybe a year or two ago. There is my first of season summer tanager. I've heard several of these over the last 2 or 3 weeks in this area, but this is the first one I've gotten a photograph of. And this is 1/200th of a second. All the shots will be 800 millimeters and they'll all be f11. That's the only aperture and focal length that lens can use. But this is 1/200th of a second and 1250 ISO. My first few shots had a completely gray background, just sky, and I actually moved the car just a little bit, and I got some trees in the background with specular highlights. And then I moved the car a little bit more and had all trees in the background, but the bird is on the exact same perch in these shots. I just moved a little bit. This one is also 1/200th of a second and 1250 ISO of the beautiful summer tanager. Here's another shot with the exact same settings of my first of season summer tanager. And I have one final shot. All of the shots are in the exact same perch, and most of them are with the same background. But it was really cool to see this bird, and I hope to see some more as the season progresses. Well, I've been struggling a pretty good bit since I checked in with you last, but I did manage to get a couple of birds. I'm almost sure I have a presentable prairie warbler shot. Here's a prairie warbler. This is 800 millimeters in f11, 1/200th of a second, and 1250 ISO, just down on the ground. Got a little foliage in the way of the bird, but I was still happy to get this shot. Here's another shot, slightly different place, really close by where the first shot was. I think the first shot was behind this piece of foliage, and now the bird's moved over just a little. This one's also 1/200th of a second and 1250 ISO. And one last shot there in the same area with the exact same settings, 1/200th of a second and 1250 ISO for the prairie warbler. I photographed this female northern cardinal in a tree with a very bright background. I didn't mention this while I was making video clips, but I thought I'd share it with you. It's not too terrible of a shot. This is 1/250th of a second and 1250 ISO. And I'm pretty sure I got a couple of brown thrasher shots, which I've struggled to get brown thrasher shots this year, so that was pretty cool. I don't think I have any without something blocking the bird, little twigs, but I definitely think I got a brown thrasher that I can show you. Here's the state bird of Georgia, the brown thrasher. This is 1/400th of a second and 1250 ISO. Got another shot of it on that same perch with the same settings. And then another shot much more up close with the same settings. This one's close enough to where you can see some pretty good detail around the eye of this. Pretty sure I just bagged an acceptable photograph of a northern mockingbird, so let's take a peek at that. And this is the state bird of Tennessee, the northern mockingbird. This is 1/400th of a second and 1600 ISO. Pretty good bit of detail in this. The 800 f11 is sharp. It's not as sharp as the lens I've been using recently, the Nikon 600 PF, but it's pretty sharp, especially for the price. I just got a really tiny in the frame. It was like 60 feet away, according to the meter on the camera. Indigo bunting. A little bit backlit too. Probably terrible. Here's the beautiful indigo bunting. This is a very backlit shot, but I really kind of like the way this turned out, even though it's heavily cropped and very small in the frame. This is 1/400th of a second and 1600 ISO. Well, I definitely just bagged another prairie warbler shot, so that was cool. It had been a while since I'd gotten a shot. A friend of mine was up here and I hung around with him and talked for a while, but just got another prairie warbler shot. Let's take a look at that. And finally, here's another prairie warbler. This is 1/250th and 640 ISO. The prairie warbler singing there. And here's another shot, just beautiful and pretty good detail out of the 800 f11 on the prairie warbler, also 1/250th of a second and 640 ISO. And I've got one last shot of the prairie warbler who is once again singing. This is also 1/250th of a second and 640 ISO. The prairie warbler, my favorite bird of spring. Well, I've had a pretty nice morning of it here on the gravel road that leads to the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've enjoyed using this Canon R6 Mark II and the 800 f11 lens. I have to be honest with you, I did miss my Z8 and 600 PF today, but this works pretty well. Not as good as that Nikon gear that I just mentioned, but this is way, way less expensive too. So that's definitely something to think about. You can definitely get some shots with this, and I hope you enjoyed the ones I got today. If you did, reach down, hit the thumbs up button. That helps me out a lot. Want to see some more stuff like this, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye from the gravel road that leads to the Summit Knobs Equestrian Trail.